Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your latest instalment on the eve of the World Cup semi-finals, but we will obviously be touching on all things Manchester United as they creep a little bit closer to their return. So we will touch on the World Cup at the end of the show with Vin, good mate of ours, back on the podcast. But I do want to start all the discussion back on Manchester United news because I'm not over the World Cup, Vin. I'm still all over it. I'm still loving it. I'm still love every bit of it. But I think since the games have been sort of dying down a little bit, and maybe there's a day or two in between games, would say I've lost interest, but that initial excitement has gone, and I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel with Manchester United's return, and I'm back on all aboard the Manchester United train in regards to where my excitement levels are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tom. Glad to be back. The podcast. Yeah, you're right. Now that the game's really going less, like there are just like one game per day. And we were really having fun when there were like 3 or 4 games at the same time, and especially during the last round of the group fixtures where all the combinations and mathematics were up in the air to see like who's going to qualify and who not. That was the excitement part of it. And now we are nearing to the close of the greatest football tournament in the world, and now we are all about the Manchester United train.
I don't want to say I'm lacking excitement, but do you think some of just put yourself in my shoes, do you think some of that is down to some of the teams that are, look, I do like what Morocco are doing, as I said, they're the team of the tournament for me, but do you think my lack of excitement is there's no Brazil, there's no Portugal, there's no England, and no disrespect to Morocco and Croatia, but at the start of the tournament, they're not who you've envisaged being in semi-finals in those big games, so do you think that is part of where my excitement maybe isn't quite there?
Now, as a neutral, it's actually a wonderful tournament. Especially, it's always fun when you pitch an underdog against a giant. But like in all honesty, if games are won on paper, we would have absolutely seen a Portugal-Argentina final or a Brazil England final in case if that's going to be possible. So. That's true. It does look a bit one-sided on paper, but again, Croatia and Morocco, they have proved us wrong, and of course, Japan had proved us wrong that games are not won on paper. So that's one of the main reasons when we kind of know, like, okay, we kind of know it's going to be an Argentina-France final. I mean, that's the higher probability of that happening. But again, you can't say no one's going to surprise us. There's always going to be surprises in store for us.
No, definitely always one of my favourite quotes in regards to football's not played on paper, it's played on grass. And we will touch on the World Cup semi-finals and have a little bit more in-depth, especially in regards to the Manchester United aspect of it, and Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. A couple of days ago, we had about 10 players at the World Cup. Now we've only got 2 left. So it was a disappointing quarterfinals for Man United. But George, good to see in the comments, mate. Hope all is well. And Matt, always a pleasure. So we will touch on, look, a player who was at the World Cup, is now returning to Carrington and Manchester United. And whatever your thoughts on this guy, he's going to be lining up against Burnley most likely because those 2 centre-backs I just mentioned in Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane, they just don't have this semi-final. Whether they win or lose, they've either got a final after this, or even if they lose, they're not coming home. They do have that 3rd-place playoff. So Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane are away for the full time. The full maximum time in terms of being away from the club. So we're not going to have them back anytime soon. I think I assume both will be back before the new year, and they will feature around that Christmas period. But these first 2 games, I don't expect Martinez and Rafael Varane. So Erik ten Hag has come out and given his full backing of his captain, and rightly so. But I want to dissect the quotes a little bit and get your thoughts. And if you are in the live chat, do let me know your thoughts on what the boss has spoken and sort of give your opinion on them. Is it just him sort of doing a bit of good PR and backing his captain and sort of backing his player and showing him support? Or are these honest words? Because we've always praised Erik ten Hag for his honesty. We say, no, he truly believes this. So do we truly believe these Harry Maguire quotes? It'll be interesting to get everyone's thoughts. So I'll touch on the first bit. And he says, Erik ten Hag, I think you're speaking to Simon Stone from the BBC, I believe. He goes, Harry Maguire will have his chance. It is clear he is good enough to play at the highest level. Just your thoughts in regards to the highest level. At Manchester United, he has struggled, and at times he has performed very well. He started his United career very well, and the last 18 months has been anything but the highest level. But if you go to the World Cup, which on paper, as we were just saying, is the highest level in football, and I don't have a team of the tournament in front of me, but I assume a lot of people potentially have Harry Maguire in that discussion at centre-back. Now, I don't think he walks into that team of the tournament, but I think he's well within that discussion. So your thoughts on Erik ten Hag saying Harry Maguire can play at the highest level? Is that Erik Ten Hag supporting his player and saying, giving him a bit of a confidence boost? Or do you think Erik Ten Hag truly believes that?
So, so let me dissect it in another way, right? So Erik Ten Hag is that manager who's never going to throw his players under the bus, and also if given a possibility or if given a chance to motivate the players, he uses the timing perfectly. So this is the appropriate timing to boost Harry Maguire to get into his, the original Harry Maguire suit that he wears for England, and use that as a booster when he plays for United. But if I'm looking at if I'm being a pessimist and having a look at the opponents England faced in a World Cup, right? They faced United States, they faced Iran. Help me with other. They didn't face any top teams, and when they faced a top team in France, they did concede a goal. And of course, the second goal from Giroud, though it was a wonderful header, we can say that Harry Maguire could have done better. But again, he's not looking at the negatives. He is right now not concerned about how he performed or the mistakes he made for England. He's just concerned because he's lacking centre-backs with Varane and Martinez out. So he's just playing his cards really at a perfect time and boosting Maguire so that he gets really motivated and bring out his form and continue his form, what he was showing for England, for United, because I believe it's just Maguire and Lindelof who are fit enough to don the centre-back role for the time being.
Yeah, well, Ted and Mengi picked up an injury. Not that Ted and Mengi was going to play, but potentially even with a shout in the League Cup game, and he's obviously injured. So it does look like it'll be Lindelof and Maguire for those first games back. But just before we move on to the next quote, my next point, just Justin and Ashby, good to see you, mate. Hope you boys have recovered from Sunday. The supporters club had a tough game against Arsenal in the heat, but hopefully you're resting up. And George makes a point here. Ten Hag also said that he's looking forward to working with Ronaldo. Can't take anything he says completely literally, which is where I'm not hesitant. And with the Ronaldo one, I think it's a tricky situation where you do have to apply a lot of context. I think he definitely did want to work with Ronaldo. The dilemma came, did Ronaldo want to work with limited game time? I think that was where the issue is. You take all the baggage away from Ronaldo. I think Erik Ten Hag would have loved to have him coming off the bench. Starting is obviously a different kettle of fish. But the next point in regards to, he ties Rafael Varane into this, and obviously almost our lasting impressions of Harry Maguire, or the things that sort of come, sort of his bad performances, the thing that sort of really fresh in the mind. And he hasn't performed, or he hasn't featured too much for Manchester United this season. It was those first two games of the season, and that obviously that heavy defeat at Brentford. So when we think of Harry Maguire, that's almost the last thing in our mind, that 4-0 defeat at Brentford. I'm just thinking, Erik Ten Hag makes the quote here saying, when I chose Rafa Varane, it is nothing against Harry Maguire. Sometimes it is because one player is a lot better than the other. I have 2 or 3 good players in the right centre-back position. Now, obviously, Rafael Varane is better than Harry Maguire, so that is why he's been picked. Obviously, there's no doubt from that. So we can see through that quote from Erik Ten Hag. But the question I want to throw to you and people in the live chat as well, with Harry Maguire, it's a case of Manchester United fans. We're looking at him say, he's not good enough, sell him. And if that's your opinion, that's valid, okay, agree with it or don't agree with it, it is what it is. But it's one of those things, Erik Ten Hag there alludes to a different style of centre-back. And there's no doubt, if you compare Rafael Varane or Lisandro Martinez to Harry Maguire, 100%, they're different styles of centre-backs. But you look everywhere else on the pitch, Vin, strikers. What do we need? We needed variety. We need, someone who can get in behind, then we need someone who can hold the ball up. We need different type of midfielders. We need a creative one. We need an engine one, someone who can supply something different. All over the pitch, we always look for that in depth. Can they provide something different? At centre-back, Harry Maguire is a different type of centre-back. So I'm just thinking, I see through the comments by Erik Ten Hag. I think he's just picking Rafael Varane because he's a better player, of course. But I also see some truth in his sort of assessment saying, well, in some games, Harry Maguire's going to be far better suited, as we've seen with England in terms of playing that style of football. Harry Maguire can perform quite well. So just your thoughts on that. Is it something you see through from Erik Ten Hag, or do you think he truly sort of looks at the attributes of all these centre-backs and values what Harry Maguire can bring?
I think Ten Hag is a bit diplomatic while making that statement, because everyone who follows football is much aware that the style of play what England and Gareth Southgate chooses is dynamically different to what United plays. Playing in an international game is completely different. The game is more slow. We have gone through these conversations back in the past where the game is more slow and the game is more settled. The risks taken by players is also is gravely reduced as compared to what they do at the club level. So I think here what Ten Hag is trying to do is he's just trying to playing a bit of a PR game over here just to ensure that people are behind the Harry Maguire train, especially because United need him right now. And again, it's a form of motivation. He's trying to get to the player so that he gives a kind of performance which can solidify his position as a centre back until Varane and Martinez comes in, and hopefully they are back without any major injuries. And also at the same time, give him a clean sheet saying like, okay, there you go. You are now our starting centre back. I've forgotten everything that has happened until Brentford. So here's your chance. Go ahead and impress me.
Do you think he can do that? Do you think he can do that? Well, not Harry Maguire, whether he can or he can't, time will tell. But in Erik ten Hag's eyes, do you think he will, even though he's obviously not the style of centre-back he'll ideally have, but if he's putting in great Harry Maguire performances, he will keep rewarding him, and it wouldn't sort of change his philosophy, but he'll keep him in regardless of the style of play he wants to sort of adapt. Like if Harry Maguire's given 10 out of 10 performances, but it's a different style to what Rafael Varane or Sandro Martinez brings, do you think Erik ten Hag will say, no, you perform and you're going to keep your spot, like Scott McTominay over Casemiro? Or do you think it's just one of those things in terms of that position, it will be, no matter what the performances are, when Rafael Varane or Sandro Martinez are fit, they'll both start next to each other?
So, again, it's all on the timing, right? So as of now, United does not have a centre back, good bunch of centre backs available for them to play. And Martinez and Varane are going to be back, like, let's say, in 1 or 2 weeks, or more than that, in case if something unfortunate happens. So to use the resources that he has in his hand at this moment, he needs to utilize Harry Maguire in the best way. So that's where I'm not going to say he's going to change the style of play so that it suits Harry Maguire, but it's more about bringing him confidence. Because if you look at it, if you look how Southgate deals with Harry Maguire, is like he always backs him. No matter how bad he performs, how good he performs, he always backs him. And I think that's kind of hand over the shoulder is what Harry Maguire needs, and probably that's where Ten Hag is trying to bring in. Okay, I'm giving you the extra sort of motivation. Now go ahead, impress me, do your job. And I won't be surprised if Harry Maguire gives us a 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 10 performance. I don't see Ten Hag saying, okay, Martinez and Varane is back. Harry, go back to the bench. I don't see him doing that, because he, from his current time at United, I've seen him rewarding players who brings in performances day in and day out. You remember one bad game of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he's no longer in the starting lineup. Same goes with Dalot. He is playing day in and day out, really good performance, making a good performance for United, and now he's a consistent start in the starting 11. So it's more like, and of course, Ten Hag did say in one of his earlier press conferences, everyone starts as a clean sheet. If you want to be there, you have to perform. Performance guarantees places. Your recommendation and your past history does not. And we have seen that in the Ronaldo case as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, if you are looking forward to seeing Manchester United, and obviously Captain, I don't want to call him Captain Fantastic, but obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek, lining up against Burnley. Look, I was disappointed Harry Maguire didn't sort of grab a goal in that France match. But if you are sort of excited about the return of Manchester United, please do leave a like on the video. That'll be great. But we'll keep on Erik ten Hag, because he's found a microphone during this break, and he's been talking about Marcus Rashford as well. Now, I don't have the quotes in front of me. Well, sorry, I do have the quotes in front of me. I'm not sure of the order. Maybe this is a little bit jumbled, so you can rearrange these if you do want, Vin. But the two quotes I've got here, it was in regards to he's talking about Marcus Rashford off the back of the World Cup. He's saying, when Marcus is on the back of the defending line, there is almost no better player in the world. It's really difficult to stop him. There is Mbappe in this moment. When Rashford is getting in that position, he's great and has really improved. So I think there's another part of the quote where he alludes to, okay, the only player that is better is Kylian Mbappe. Again, yes, when Marcus Rashford is in that position, yes, he's a huge threat and is one of the most dangerous players. It's Marcus Rashford trying to get into that position, which we need. Obviously, when he is that threat in behind the back four, obviously he is devastating. This quote, is it something, again, like we've been discussing with Erik ten Hag, is it something you believe? Is it an honest appraisal, or is it performance or is it sort of a bit of a confidence boost? So when Rashford returns to Manchester United, he's ready to go, sort of just like Harry Maguire.
So Rashford, before the World Cup, he was really performing well for United, especially when he was playing on the left flank. And Coincidentally, Mbappe plays more of that role for France as well, and sometimes for PSG. So the characteristics are a bit similar. So that's one of the comparisons that came across. And if I look into England's performance for this World Cup, also considering the amount of time a player has played, Rashford basically comes into the top 3 England players who was more influential than anyone who played based on the number of minutes they played for the team. So more than the confidence booster, I will probably say this as an element of truth hidden somewhere. And also, we need Rashford back. We need the best of Rashford back, especially towards the tail end of the season. We have this game against Barcelona. We are trying to push into the top 4. We might even challenge for one trophy. So we need the best of the best we have. And take away Rashford, who else do we have in the attacking option? Martial. I won't say much about it. It's a bit inconsistent. Anthony, same goes with him. Sancho is a bit divisive right now on how things are going for him. And we have Elanga, no Ronaldo. So I think Ten Hag right now sees Rashford as the main man to lead the striking options for United. And he's literally placing all bets on him. So what better thing to motivate him than comparing him with one of the best left-sided wingers in the world, that's in Kylian Mbappe. So I think that's
fingers
the way,
crossed. Look, you're completely right, but fingers crossed. You rattle off all those names in regards to options up front. I think the main thing in regards to our hope as Manchester United fans is we get a name added to that list in regards to addressing that in the transfer market. I think that is a huge thing. Erik Ten Hag, well, not Erik Ten Hag, myself, every Manchester United fan, we do need. But before we move on, just one thing I want to touch on before the World Cup semi-finals is a few comments about Maguire in the chat. Emad, good to see you, man. Maguire should be treated like the Mexican goalkeeper, keep him hidden away until the World Cup rolls around. There are those players. Miroslav Klose, I couldn't tell you what club he played for 4 years, and he used to always pop up in the German kit every 4 years and score goals. The Mexican goalkeeper is always... I honestly don't know where that Mexican goalkeeper plays. I want to hazard a guess, maybe in Spain or somewhere in Mexico. If anyone does know, please do let me know in the live chat. Justin here, we don't have a choice to play Maguire in the absence of Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. I think when those guys are back and ready, they walk straight in, which I wouldn't disagree with. Emad here, Lindelof has always been a better footballer than Maguire, just doesn't have an English passport. He should be third in line with Maguire, a little bit lower. And Justin here, Lindelof always ahead of Maguire, in my opinion. I think Lindelof is a little bit hard done by in this discussion in regards to almost a forgotten man. But I also think, yes, hard done by, but ultimately when Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane walked in the door, the traits that Lindelof had over Maguire or had over Erik Bailly was his quality on the ball. But suddenly 2 players in Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez come in who have sort of superior defensive skills and also can play football at a high level. Suddenly Victor Lindelof sort of naturally slips down the pecking order, and then you compare Lindelof's defensive attributes with Maguire, and that's maybe, okay, football and ability, okay, there's no debate. But in regards to defensive sort of contributions, obviously Harry Maguire, there is a case, has sort of provided a little bit more. So I think Lindelof, his performances this season, and even since Ralph Rangnick last season came in, I think has been improved and done very well. But ultimately a little bit unfortunate, and maybe to an extent Harry Maguire as well, but unfortunately just undone by the arrival of Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez. But that is the competition you do want, whether it's centre-back or anywhere across the line for Manchester United. But before we move on and obviously discussing Varane and Lisandro Martinez, there's a bit of a defensive trend to this podcast. Just want to touch on, I haven't read any articles, so if you do know anything in the live chat, please do put it in there, and Vin, you can enlighten me if you have read anything. But I have seen 1 or 2 YouTube videos and sort of articles popping around about Amazon's ready to buy United. Now, we've heard everything so far. It's going to be Jim Ratcliffe. It's going to be American investments. It's going to be the Saudis. It's going to be Apple. Now it's going to be Amazon. So I don't know how sort of reliable these sources are, but the latest one is Amazon buying Manchester United. So just your thoughts just on the latest sort of hearings that around Manchester United and the ownership.
So I read this article on The Athletic where they had... vaguely had put up who might be the interested buyers, and through the names Amazon. We got Jim Ratcliffe, we got the Saudis, we got an Indian businessman as well involved. So it's pretty weird that all these names are being thrown up, and also at the same time when there are other 2 statements made in the article that Chelsea was probably sold $1 billion and $2 billion extra. And also, it's the same consortium who is trying to push the sale for United, who's actually working on the sales factor in pushing the sale of United. So it's all really vague right now. And regarding Amazon, I was going through some videos, and I did see Stephen Housen, a good friend of the podcast, talk a bit about, compared it with when Sky Sports was trying to buy United in 97, 98, and there was a conflict of interest because Sky Sports was actually the ones who are going to do the telecasting of the Premier League, and if they are going to have a say in owning a club, and they will eventually get a vote on who is going to be the telecast rights, so there will be a conflict of interest. So that was brought upon, but it's not the same case if Amazon end up buying United over there, because even though Amazon does stream some of the Premier League matches, they stream, I believe, 10 to 15% of Premier League matches over the whole year. So I don't see...
I agree 100%, but do you think, again, sort of without being absolute lawyers, but do you think technically there is a legal conflict of interest there? Like, okay, it's not 100% of the games, but 1% or 100%, if there is a percentage, there is that potential for conflict of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. There is going to be a conflict of interest somewhere down the line, and also if you look at on how it's going to be proportioned, from a very 10,000 feet high view, if I look at it, Amazon is not one to go ahead and buy clubs. If they wanted to do that, they could have done anything. They could have bought the NBA, one of the NBA clubs. They could have done one of the major league soccer clubs or the baseball clubs. So I don't see them entering this whole club investment, first of all, and that too to start with something really big as Manchester United, because you need a lot of investment in there. And with investments, of course, comes bad publicity. No matter Amazon is the gentlest evil or the devil among all the other bidders who are currently tagged to purchasing United, they have their own set of blames inside their Pandora's box. So that's going to be opened eventually if the links grow harder and stronger. But I don't see the conflict of interest to be a major push in them buying or not buying the club. But if worst case, if they do end up buying the club, I will be really glad, because we'll finally get the all or nothing edition of Manchester United, which is one of the most amazing sports documentaries ever made. No matter whether it's about the All Blacks rugby team, or whether it's about the Brazil national team, or even if it's about the noisy neighbors, they bring up some really good sports documentaries out there. And
I think they'll have to wait, which I completely agree, but I think they're going to have to wait until they win a trophy, and then they can have the documentary about Manchester United lifting something. They can't have a behind the scenes on what's happening at the moment. Well, there has been a turn behind the scenes at the moment, but in terms of, they can't be showing what has been happening the last couple of seasons. They definitely need a bit of a turn to a bit of a more positive side of things. But we will move on to World Cup semi-finals. And if you are looking forward to the World Cup semi-finals, do leave your sort of predictions and thoughts, because obviously we've spent a lot of this podcast talking about Harry Maguire, but the two people who should be keeping Harry Maguire out of the team when all back fit, Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane, are the only ones at the tournament left. We, as I said at the start of the quarterfinals, I think we had about 10 players there or something in terms of Brazil, Portugal, England. Now there's only two remaining, and our two centre-backs. So do let us know who you prefer to win, whether it be Lisandro Martinez or Rafael Varane. Then we'll start on, I think, the game tomorrow. Obviously, it'll be tonight UK time, but tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. I think the first game for us is Argentina-Croatia. Is that the one tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start on Lisandro Martinez and Argentina. Sorry for any Croatian listeners in this live chat. Look, it wouldn't shock me if Croatia wins. I'm not giving a prediction in regards to that. Obviously, money would suggest Argentina. But look, I could see Croatia winning. I could see Argentina winning. My thoughts are in regards to wanting to see Lisandro Martinez in the World Cup final. I'd love to see him win it. Now, what does that mean for the Lionel Messi and Ronaldo discussion? That's another thing. But in my Manchester United had of things, Lisandro Martinez going through the World Cup final, I'd love to see. And he started in the last game. So it's one of those ones, I think, against Australia, he didn't start. And then we thought, is he going to be sort of out of favour with the manager? But Lisandro Martinez has rightfully worked his way into that starting lineup. So I'd love to see him play against Croatia and get to the final. So I'm just giving you your thoughts, whether it be a Croatian side of things or Martinez in Argentina, your thoughts ahead of this semi-final.
I would love to have an even final after the shocking final we had in 2018. I would not love to see Croatia France or even a Croatia-Morocco final. Sorry, guys, I got no holds barred. I just want to have an evenly balanced final. And one of the best games of the previous World Cup was the Argentina-France quarterfinal, I believe it was. And it was one of the best games of any World Cup taken. And I would love to see that as a return rather than I wouldn't say rather one-sided, but it's more of there's more of an imbalance in case if there is a Morocco-Argentina.
Do you think you're getting caught up though in regards to what you discussed at the start of the show in regards to play it on paper? Because Portugal and Morocco, Brazil, Croatia, okay, there's an imbalance there, but ultimately at full time there isn't.
Exactly. But again, if let's assume there is going to be a Croatia France final, you know how Croatia is playing this entire tournament. They are playing without a striker. They are playing without a recognized striker. So what they do is they are just so boring to watch, and it's not going to be exciting enough. And for a final to be of that level, I want an exciting final where both teams are just barging in with tackles, trying to do shots on target, shots off target, tackles flying everywhere. So that would be because the Qatar World Cup has been such a wonderful tournament with all the bad publicity it had leading towards the tournament. It gave us one of the greatest World Cup goals in Argentina-Netherlands in the clash. So I would rather say a balanced final. It probably Croatia-Morocco. That will be a balanced final. But if you look at it the way they play, it's gonna leave a bitter taste in your mouth if that's the way they're gonna play any final. So yeah.
Yeah, look. Yeah, so on paper, in terms of the excitement levels of me setting the alarm at 2 in the morning on a Monday, is obviously France and Argentina. And look, I'll have my own sort of discussion in my head on who I want to win that in regards to Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez, a good mate of ours, and obviously Vin as well. Sam, good to see you in the chat, mate. But Justin brings up a point here, Vin. I want to have a discussion. I forget who I was discussing this with, but I sort of didn't make my next point, and we got sidetracked and discussing something else. But Justin here makes when Varane wins the World Cup, should also come back as our captain. I don't want to get into the captain discussion. I don't disagree with that. I think he has led the team very well. But in regards to Rafael Varane, and let's say he wins the World Cup, this whole discussion over the last couple of days has been, could you imagine Kylian Mbappe scoring in a World Cup final and then winning 2 World Cups before the age of whatever he is, 23, 24? What a legacy he is creating. I saw a thing, it was off the back of Spain getting knocked out the other day in regards to a lot of sort of tributes coming back to Sergio Ramos and how could Spain leave the greatest Spanish centre-back out of all time. I'm looking at Rafael Varane. If he wins a second World Cup, you look at what he's done in the Champions League. I assume the same amount of Champions League as Sergio Ramos. Maybe someone could sort of correct me in that, but I assume the same amount. Sergio Ramos obviously has a World Cup as well with Spain. But if Rafael Varane can add 2, look, different people have different preferences on who's a better defender. But in regards to legacy, is there a case in terms of looking back now? I'm sure people say Maldini and Baresi and players like that, obviously. But in terms of his legacy, if Rafael Varane is to win this World Cup, could he go down as the greatest ever defender?
To be honest, as much as I love Maldini and Baresi, because being an AC Milan fan, none of them have won a World Cup, including Cannavaro, have won a World Cup twice. So for Rafael Varane to do it, given as much of stuff he takes for being made of glass, that's what most of us on Twitter call him, I think he would go down as one of the greatest defenders ever. Especially, I believe he has also won an extra Champions League more than Ramos. Someone
could do, but potentially, I'm not sure about that.
And to win 2 World Cups and to be part of the France team who has won 2 World Cups back to back. Not many of the France team not many of the players because of the injuries are representing France in this current edition who have represented. So it comes up like 4 years or basically 6 years of consistency back to back on club and country level. Not many can perform, especially with the different conditions, right? Playing a World Cup in Europe is different. Playing a World Cup in Asia under this heat is different. So if you're going to consider every other option out there, I'm quite sure if he wins the World Cup, he's literally going into my top 3 greatest defenders of all time, because it's not an easy task.
Oh, yeah.
I know France
a lot of it still comes down to interpretation, and people will weigh up quality and attributes over sort of team like George Best didn't win a World Cup or anything like that. Obviously, sometimes the players' hands are tied, so it is on how you value in terms of weighing up those legacy and GOAT discussions sort of thing. But in the live chat, answer this question. I'll throw it to you as well, Vin. Let's draw up the hypothetical scenario where France do get through against Morocco and Argentina do get through against Croatia. Lisandro Martinez against Rafael Varane. As a Manchester United fan or a football fan, you choose what hat you want to wear. Who do you want to win that final?
As a romantic, I would love Argentina to win it. I'm not an Argentina fan. I was supporting Brazil and Netherlands. I know people will be hating me right now, but the main reason why I want Argentina to win it, because it will be the perfect swan song for Messi. Because the guy has also
even as a Ronaldo fan myself, I can't.
Exactly.
I'd still love that for Lionel Messi. Like, yes,
Absolutely.
it throws an unfortunate spanner in the debate, but you'd love to see Messi does obviously deserve it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He is taking the Argentina team to the finals or the semi-finals as of now. And the other thing is, like, we have seen his heartbreak in 2014. Yeah, 2014. And then being kicked off of the competition in the very early stages in the last edition. And to come back after this initial loss against Saudi Arabia, a very well-performing Saudi Arabia against Argentina, to come back from that and to win the trophy, it will be perfect. And as a Martinez fan, I would love that as well. But it will be perfect for Messi to win it. And I think I'll be inching towards Messi.
You've given your preference there. You've given your preference of Argentina, but if you're a betting man, France or Argentina, who do you think would win the match?
So
I think it's France.
Is more balanced, as in they got this wonderful midfield. Their defense is really good, even though Upamecano and Theo Hernandez has been all over the place in the game against England. They got a perfect balanced midfield. They got a lot of striking options. Giroud scoring again. Like, he is literally, like, who would have imagined? The guy has been under so much criticism when he was playing for Arsenal, when he was playing for Chelsea. And now he is, like, nicking goals like anything. And people were literally launching missiles at him when he won the World Cup last edition without having a single goal or not even a single shot on target. So it's really good. They are coming up with the goods, and with the injuries they have had in the squad, and still coming up with the goods, and still presenting a very balanced and a very formidable team, and going all the way to the semi-final is good. But as a romantic, I want Argentina to win. As a betting man, it will be. I would love Varane to be solidify himself as one of the top defenders of all time.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you echo a lot of the thoughts of a lot of Manchester United fans there. Justin here reminding us, either way, if that's the final, we have two centre-backs come back to our club to continue their run of form. Can't wait to have them back in red. Ultimately, as a Man United fan, that's the most important thing. Okay, go do whatever you want to do for your country, but okay, that ends on Monday. Okay, I don't care what happens for your country after that. Enjoy it for a day or two, but come back and perform in the red shirt, because ultimately, from a selfish point of view, that is all I do and Manchester United fans do care about. We've seen we wanted Brazil, we wanted England, we wanted Portugal. They get knocked out. We see a few tears now. Okay, dust yourself off, come back and perform, because my God, we need them to perform. Because I haven't even looked at the Premier League table. Do you remember every sort of day you'd sort of analyse the Premier League table and how many points you need and who had games in hand, sort of thing. That was like a daily or an hourly ritual for me. I couldn't tell you where we are on the table. I assume we're fifth or sixth. I forget. Sixth?
Yeah.
Fifth, are we? And Arsenal were still top, weren't they? Arsenal had a bit of a buffer against City, didn't they?
Yeah, they got a game against City, so which they are yet to play. So,
because did City lose just before the break?
They lost. They lost. I think they lost against Brentford, if my memory is right.
That rings a bell. Yeah. That rings a bell. Yeah, and I think Arsenal won that day as well. So, but who knows? Gabriel Jesus obviously injured for Arsenal, so they are on a bit of a striker hunt in the transfer market, just as much as United. I'm sure we're probably in for the same striker. Very, very much likely in regards to the way Arteta and Ten Hag do like their football. you would very much sort of hazard a guess that whoever the one manager wants, the other will take an interest in as well. So both teams do need a striker. Who will act first? Fingers crossed it's United, but both in desperate need. But is there anything else, Vin, Manchester United World Cup news I've sort of forgotten about before we do wrap up?
Not really. It's just I really hope our Portuguese, Brazil, and the English players they must.
How long do you give them off? Like in terms of I don't know fixtures.
I think I read somewhere Ten Hag had given them a week off.
Yeah, so I think that's about right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the week after they played the game or if it's the week after they are back to their base.
I'm sure they flew out. I'm sure they flew out the night of the game, sort of thing. The next day. So I think a week is probably the right thing to do in terms of you do need to get them back, but you also do need to think. Well, you've had a sort of tumultuous time at the World Cup. Go and put your feet up for 2 or 3 days. So I think that is the right thing. We do want to rush them back and be selfish, but this is a huge part of man management. The interesting thing will be Raphael Varane wins the World Cup with France. Okay, do you bring him back and say, we need you for next week against whatever our league game is? Or do you think, hang on, you've just sort of completed football. You should really go and sort of celebrate for 2 weeks. And that maybe celebration will actually benefit him mentally for the rest of the season. So it will be a huge bit of man management for Erik ten Hag, no matter how this World Cup final. And look, this is a situation if Varane and Martinez win it. We could be in a situation where it could be Croatia or Morocco. Who knows? We'll obviously have that answer in a couple of days' time, who's going to be in the final. But we'll definitely be reviewing those finals. Maybe back tomorrow if anything sort of drastic happens in the Argentina-Croatia game. If not, we'll definitely be back on Thursday to discuss the semi-finals and preview the World Cup final. But it's been a pleasure chatting to everyone in the live chat, getting Vin back on the podcast. And make sure you do leave a like on the video if you are here. And if you are new, please do hit that subscribe button. That'll be very much appreciated. Vin, pleasure as always, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, if you want Argentina to proceed to the final, leave a like. If you want France to proceed to the final, leave a comment and subscribe. So, yeah, hopefully it's a very balanced final we are looking forward to. And may the best team win. And thanks for having me again, Tom.
No, always, mate. So we'll chat to everyone soon. Have a good one. Cheers.